All right, it's great to see everyone. Hope everyone's had a great summer and a lot of excitement, but looking forward to going on this long journey with everyone in this room as we start practice obviously tomorrow. But I wanted to make a few announcements just to make sure we're clear on some dates and some things going on. We will hold an open practice. That'll be Saturday, August 16th. Gates will open at 6 o'clock and practice will start at 7. And probably as big as anything is there'll be free parking. So we need to create a game-like atmosphere for our football team, and we're going to try to put them in some pressure situations, some live game repetitions, and see how they perform in front of our great fan base. So again, that'll be August 16th. Another thing, I'd like to congratulate Ellen Renfro for winning the NCAA Postgraduate Scholarship. She's our 10th winner in the last 4 years, and that ranks us 4th in the country. And very proud of her accomplishments. And we talk about being one Tennessee, and congratulations to her. In terms of the summer, I think a very, very, very productive summer in all aspects, all regards of our football program, starting in the classroom with summer school. It's the first time that we're finishing up in the second session of our summer school, and nobody is in any eligibility concerns or issues. Everyone is qualified, everyone's ready to go, so that's a great thing. It's going to be a great challenge starting training camp Friday night in terms of we have 1 week left of school. So again, it's going to be a balancing act of classes finishing strong, but also getting ready for Utah State coming up very shortly. Also a productive summer in terms of the community and everything that we talk about being champions. Also productivity in the strength and conditioning area, and then our former players. You look at all the former players that were back on campus, and I can't name all of them because there were so many of them, but you know, as we all know, Peyton Manning, Jason Witten, Eric Berry, Chad Clifton was back for the first time. As he told me, it's the first time he's been back. The last time he was back was when the indoor was 60 yards. So it was great to see him and his family and his children. Albert Hainsworth, and then you look at John Gruden being here for a number of days, and also my good friend Charles Davis. So to welcome back, you know, our Vol for Life is very, very important, and it's critical for our players to see them coming around the program. As we speak about Vol for Life, also our personal growth and development program. When you look at the inordinate amount of speakers and development that we had over the summer months, well documented. Pac-Man Jones' message was outstanding, and very, very appreciative of him of getting on a plane while they're in mini camp and coming here. John Gordon, the author of The Energy Bus. If anyone in this room has not read The Energy Bus, I highly recommend that. It was a team book, so our team read it this summer. They presented to each other on it, and then they have the ability to have the author, the status of John Gordon, great, great human being, to fly in from Jacksonville and spend a day with our coaching staff and with our players was extremely valuable for us for a number of reasons. The program of the United States Military and Leadership Training, spending 2 days with our players. The Knoxville Police Department Training Day, KPD Day, was a great day, and again, I want to thank them and everyone involved because I know our players look forward to it. But it's also building those lasting relationships, just like we do with the Sheriff's Department as well. And then just recently concluded the Habitat for Humanity in the House, and that's what it is making a difference in all aspects, making a difference in this community. So a very, very productive summer, but now we get down to football, and it's our players understanding that football is a lifestyle, and you have to live it every day. And so much of that lifestyle is rest, recovery, nutrition, you know, your mental approach, your physical approach. And as we all know, it's well documented, a lot of these individuals will be going through this for the first time. So again, it's our approach, it's our daily approach and how we handle that. And really, it's striving to be the best football team that we can possibly be. That's our goal. That's our only goal, and we'll see how far it takes us. But everyone must meet their full potential in our football program, and we're going to challenge them each and every day to meet that goal. So the culture's in place, the language is in place, but there's more to it. It's earning that right to win. You know, it's not just hoping to win, but it's earning that right to win in your approach, your team chemistry, your leadership, your toughness, both mentally and physically, or what I like to refer to as your mental conditioning. You know, it's players stepping up and making big time plays. It's that consistency and performance that we talk about each and every day. That's what goes into earning the right to win. And you have to earn that every single day. The last thing, and then I'll open it up to questions. You know, the key in being the best team that we can possibly be is learning how to manage the natural adversities that a very long football season brings about, even in training camp. You know, how do we handle those adversities? How do we handle setbacks? How do we handle the time demands? And so much goes into a student athlete that a lot of individuals don't realize in terms of time management with a full academic workload. And then you have your study hours and your study table, and then you have community service. You have your 4 hours of football or 3.5 hours of football. You have your rest, your nutrition. You're getting up at 6 a.m. to get treatments. So much that goes into it. In your mature teams, the individuals that can manage those are usually the teams that are winning championships come November and December. So again, it's focusing on the process one day at a time. And again, it's great to see everyone. And I'll open it up to questions.
How physically different is this team you enter camp with as opposed to a year ago?
Well, much different in terms of physicality or physically or overall development. You know, last year at this time, I'd be sitting up here and, you know, I'm quietly concerned in our strength levels. We had 0 players on our football team who could squat over 600 pounds. Very few 400-pound bench pressers. Our flexibility was not where it needs to be. And we're still not where we need to be overall as a program. But as I sit here before you today, we have 11 individuals who can squat over 600 pounds. If you look at our bodies, you'll see them tomorrow night on the field. They've changed. They're in great condition. But there's a difference between the strength and conditioning levels and being in football condition. And so much is focusing on the play, letting it go, and thinking. And this is a thinking man's game. And we always use the expression, you can't let the mind tie the feet up. But in terms of our overall strength levels, night and day difference. Dave Lawson, Mike Sershin, our entire strength coach, I feel they're the best in the country. And they've done a great job of really developing that. And our players have been consistent all summer long, which has been great to see as well.
You've had that year two with now 3 different programs, and this will be your third. Have you been able to flip a roster quite as quickly as you seem to have rolled this one over?
Now, I don't know if there's ever been a roster flipped like this in the history of college football. You know, sometimes I feel like we're an expansion team with some first and second round draft choices and some veterans. And that's what makes it exciting. But our patience will be tried, and we all venture on a journey. And the great thing is our great fan base, we get to raise this football team. And we get to, it's like nurturing and having our kids grow up. And we all get to be part of that journey is watch this football team mature week in and week out. But, you know, again, I've been exceptionally proud of our older players, but it's still teaching them the culture. You know, I don't think you just totally develop it in a year. It's an ongoing process. That's why we spent so much time on the language. You know, the messaging has to be consistent in everywhere they go, whether it's the training room, in the strength and conditioning room, our secretaries, our custodial staff. And, you know, we had an organizational meeting a couple days ago to lay the blueprint again for this coming season. But the culture is in place. The standards are in place. The expectations, and our players do know what to expect. Also, our 14 newcomers at mid-year have helped educate the other individuals that arrived in June along with our veteran players.
Butch, how do you teach a team this young to manage adversity? So you have to experience those things before you figure out how to handle them. You don't have that luxury. How do you teach these guys to deal with adversity without having gone through it?
Well, they say adversity is the greatest teacher of life lessons, but as they say, if it's so great, how come nobody wants to experience it? And I think we have to manufacture different situations in practice. You know, that's why the open practice is critical. We have to create game speed repetitions, and we have to create game-like situations. So we'll continue to do that. We have to rely on our older players as well. I think our team chemistry is greatly evolved. We had our first what we call Orange Code Night last night, where our players put together their code of how we're going to win, not in terms of, you know, the plan to win, but off the field, and to hold each other accountable. And I thought we took a major step that way, but I think it's persistence, and I think it's consistency in everything that we do. And again, focusing on the moment, you know, one snap, one day at a time, one practice at a time. And I know we all now understand John Adams and his life of one, so we all understand that now. But I really mean that. I mean, we cannot get ahead of ourselves. The minute we start thinking down the road, we're going to lose that moment, and we're not good enough to lose that moment.
Ideally, go ahead. Butch, season tickets are at a 5-year high this year. Why do you think the fans have invested in you?
Well, I don't think it's investing in me. I think it's investing in this football program and this football team. And I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. We have the best, most passionate fan base in the country. And they make me work even that much harder, our staff and our players. And it's important that our players understand what they're representing on a daily basis. And our fan base has been exceptional. That's why recruiting is going the way they are. A lot of it is our great fan base. And people can feel the positive energy and excitement that surrounds Tennessee football. So it's great to see, and we're going to need them. We're going to need their support. You know, we live together, we die together, we do everything together. That's Vol Nation. And so making Neyland Stadium a home field advantage, starting off against Utah State, is going to be absolutely critical.
Which you mentioned your strength levels last year were maybe your quiet concern. What's your quiet concern going into this camp this year?
Well, I think just the overall development. You know, my concern initially isn't quiet. You know, it's our offensive and defensive lines. And quite simply, we'll be as good as those two positions develop. You know, and they know it. Our players understand it. Our coaches know it. You know, and it's a great team game, and we have to do a great job of coaches of trying to provide some relief. But there has to be a sense of urgency with everyone in this football program, not just in the offensive and defensive lines, but, you know, across the board. You know, I hear talk about Marquez North, and he'll be here 3 years. I'm worried about Marquez North getting out of a break. You know, I think sometimes we're too quick to anoint and crown individuals when they have a long way to go. And this football team has worked exceptionally hard, but again, we just have to continue to get better. But I think it's our overall physicality as a football team. I think the overall leadership, when you only have 12 seniors and then we put 3 walk-ons on scholarship to add that number to 15, so leadership is going to be at a premium. You know, what type of leadership do we bring? You know, so a lot of things that go into the rigors of a training camp and a long season you think about. You know, right now, the overall level of health. You know, we're still not where we are in terms of depth. That's why recruiting is critical. And we won't be there for a number of years yet. So, you know, the ability of rest, recovery, staying healthy, you know, that's going to be critical as well.
Ideally, when would you like to name a starting quarterback?
As soon as one person steps up and takes control of the offense and takes command of the program. And I just spoke with our quarterbacks a little while ago of the brand of being the quarterback at the University of Tennessee. It's a global position. And there's not very many brands across the country when it comes to quarterback play that is as more vivid, is more out there than being the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee. And demanding that respect, that leadership that comes from that position for the entire state of Tennessee, for Vol Nation, but within, you know, the 4 walls of the Anderson Training Center as well. There's a lot that goes into it. Managing the game, taking care of the football, elevating the play of others around them, holding everyone accountable. You know, that's critical. So, you know, productivity on the field, but also off the field as well.
Do you think it's important to name somebody before game week?
No. I mean, we'll know maybe for you guys so you can write about it all week, but, you know, for us, it doesn't matter when we name. They're all 3 are going to be ready. and all three must be ready. Shoot, we found that out last year, you know, with what happened. So, you know, whoever it is, when the time's appropriate, you know, the great thing about it is they all bring a different dynamic. If Joshua Dobbs is our quarterback, you're going to see more, you know, quarterback run game. You know, Justin can run the quarterback run game, but you may see a little different personality. Same thing with Nate Peterman. So they all bring a little bit of a competitive advantage. You know, each has their own strengths that they bring to the table.
Butch, you've already talked about how the wide receivers, that's one of the strengths of this team. Plus, you have 2 incoming freshman tight ends. How much can that help the quarterback play? Quarterbacks threw 5 more interceptions and touchdowns last year.
Thanks for reminding me. I think it's going to help our quarterback play tremendously. You know, we talked about it as last year. You know, I thought we forced our quarterbacks to have to play perfect at times. And, you know, no way, shape, form is our receiving core to the point where, you know, we want to be exceptional. You know, we want to be the best in the country. And we still need to recruit. We still need to develop. But they have taken tremendous strides. And I do think the quarterback position will be elevated this year because of the supporting cast around them. You know, the additions at the tight end position with Daniel Helm and Ethan Wolf, you know, they bring a level of competitiveness, athleticism. And so, you know, now you're going into camp. You know, everything is about competition. There's no secret about it. Competition either brings out the best or the worst in individuals. And we need to get to a point where every position on this roster is competing. And that'll be one of the positions, just like the wide receiver position. We still have a long way to go. Some individuals need to take monumental strides in moving forward. But we have some players on this football team that can catch in advance now. And that's going to be critical as we move forward.
You talked about the concern of the offensive and defensive line with no starters back, particularly the offensive tackle situation. In the spring, you had a new true freshman on one side, a former walk-on on the other side. How do you feel about the way those positions stack up?
Well, they've progressed. They've had, again, a very, very productive off-season strength and conditioning. But now, you know, there's only so much you can do in the strength and conditioning area. Now it's time to play football. And I'm excited to see the growth of this football team from the orange and white game to practice 1, practice 2, you know, all the way to game time, and see how we continue to progress and develop. But that's the big thing, is now can we translate that strength that we've gained in the strength and conditioning arena, can we transfer that strength now onto the football field?
Which more than a third of your guys are going to be newcomers, whether they came in obviously in the spring or now. How imperative is it that they keep up the speed and they don't, I guess, lose track? Obviously you want to take it slow with freshmen and stuff, but how important is it that they kind of stay in step with where you want them to be?
Well, again, it's critical because everything is about installation, you know, and every day is new install. So once they learn something new, you're moving on, and if you don't keep up, it's just like academics. You know, there's no difference. You know, you're always moving on. So if you don't get part 1, you're going to struggle with part 2 and part 3 and part 4. So that's where you rely on your older players. You know, we'll do a lot of walkthroughs and different things. You know, we've had a company come in and assess how our players learn, you know, their ability to learn, how we teach them, you know, and each individual learns differently. Some, you know, learn by seeing it done on the video. You know, some learn by drawing it, some learn by doing it. You know, some are audio, some are visual, you know, some are hands-on. And so it's going to be a great challenge for our coaches to try to reach every individual in our program. And that's why I talk about there's a difference between teaching and presenting. Anybody can get on a PowerPoint and present. We have teachers in our football program. Teachers of the game of football, teachers of the game of life. And I talk to our coaches all the time. It's hard to be a college football coach because there's 4 elements that go into being a college football coach. 1, you have to be able to scheme. 2, you got to be able to teach fundamentals. 3, you have to be able to recruit. 4, you have to be able to evaluate talent. And really 4, but then 5th is mentor, is make a difference in their lives and be a father figure. So there's so much that encompasses of going into being a college football coach, and that's what I look at. I rank our coaches, and they know exactly where they're at. And you know, when you throw in the mentorship and being a father figure, all 5 elements, we discuss. So again, we have to extract every ounce of value we can of everyone in our football program, and everyone has a role, and they must understand their role. It may be 4 snaps on special teams. If that's your role, you need to excel in your role, and you need to understand your role, and you need to embrace your role. That's going to be critical.
You talked about teaching. How much, I know obviously I haven't started practice yet, but how much do you think those 2 extra hours a week of in the classroom with the guys, how much of a difference do you think that'll make compared to years past when they couldn't do that?
Well, especially with a young football team, I think it's going to benefit us greatly. And that's why I'm excited to see it practice 1 and practice 2. And it was a balancing act for us. I know that's been one of the #1 questions across the country is how is, the new 2-hour rule. For us, it was challenging because not only are you trying to develop them mentally, but you're trying to develop them physically, especially offensive and defensive linemen. So, the more time you spend in the classroom, the more time you're taking away from their personal development in the strength and conditioning area. So we had a plan. I believe we executed the plan very, very well. But it has been a big benefit to our players.
Coach, can you describe the changes that Dontavis Blair has gone through since the end of spring practice to now?
Yeah.
And then do you think he was motivated by not coming out of spring practice as a starter?
Well, Dontavis Blair is extremely motivated, and he's had a great offseason. He's done exceptionally well in the classroom. He's really changed his body from his strength levels, just his overall body makeup. We check the bod pod, we do that test. All the time, and he's made tremendous strides. Now it's that confidence in his ability. Again, now it's how does he apply his off season to on the field. But we're going to need him to step up. We have who we have. That's not going to change. But I like the direction that he's going right now.
Butch, when you break down your new signing class between the January guys and the summer school guys, those January guys obviously got a big head start. Is there a limit on how much these you guys can get done between now to catch up?
Well, you bring up a great point, and it was interesting to see is the difference that about 6 months make in the development of 17 to 18-year-olds is amazing. Now we view almost those 14 newcomers as veterans of our football team, and having them already completed a full academic workload. The expectations we set forth in the classroom, going through spring football, understanding how we practice, going through the winter months of strength and conditioning. They've been a great resource to the other signees, but when the newcomers in June came in and the 14 that were here, there was a big difference. But the individuals that reported in June, they've really caught up. But you are right, and we'll only know that, Mike, when we get on the field. That's when we'll know. And we'll see, the retention from the spring will be very big for us in moving forward, the retention from the 2 hours a week in our meetings, but also the ability to maintain information and continue to learn more and more as we progress throughout training camp.
In your experience at Central or at Cincinnati, you had guys come in later and be able to, by opening day, be where you want to be or close? Yeah,
we have, and we also say, they may not be ready game 1 or game 2, but, kind of the measuring stick or we may point to game 3 or game 4. We may say, hey, we just need to continue to progress in our goals to have him game ready by SEC play. So again, every individual is different, but every individual has a different timetable in terms of how they develop and mature. But as we know, this league is very unforgiving, especially when you play a lot of true freshmen. And you look at a lot of the great players that have played in the SEC, and you look at their play from their freshman year to their junior years or their senior years, it's remarkably different. But it'll all be based on how they develop, but we have a plan for everyone.
So, Coach, for the full year under your belt here in the SEC, is there anything that you learned about the conference that you didn't know going into it? Is there anything from last year you can take with you into this season to help this squad get over the hump, get some bowl games?
Well, I think you're always learning, and the minute you stop learning, you need to quit what you're doing and move on. And so you're always constantly learning. I don't know, I think it's more solidifying what I believed in this conference. And, I've said it, is you want a mark of a great quarterback, the mark of a great quarterback is the ability to lead his team from behind on the road in a 1-minute drill. That's what makes great quarterbacks. And so I think the thing is managing the natural adversities that a football season endures you to. You know, in this conference, when you go on the road, you're going to play in hostile environments. You better learn how to embrace it, and the concentration level is twofold. So you have to be at the top of your game. I think just the overall daily grind of a long football season, from the media attention, you know, now the addition of the SEC network, you know, it's going to be SEC football 24/7. That adds to it. You know, the scrutiny that they're under. You know, so much that goes into it, just the overall daily grind.
Coach, you've referenced the line of scrimmage being a concern. You've referenced all the freshmen on the defensive line that really that comes together. Just how prepared do you think some of those newcomers, Michael, Wayne, Derek, are can really help the spot where it's tough for freshmen to come in and play?
Well, it is tough, but they have no choice. They're going to have to help. And, you know, it's hard to really gauge just in helmets or in skill development sessions or whatever you do. You'll know more when you have to apply physicality to the thought process, to the thinking. And so, you know, when we get into, you know, our live contact practices and our padded practices, that's when I'll know a little bit more, because so much goes into that.
And I know, you know, we keep asking you, have you ever dealt with this before? Up front especially, have you ever relied on maybe that many
No.
guys coming in to possibly be in the 2D?
Well, I think when you look at it, we're the only team in the country that has to replace both starting offensive and defensive lines, so that's very, very unusual. But quite simply, it's the reality of building a program. It's something we all knew coming here, and it's a great challenge, but also I think of it as a tremendous opportunity. You know, it's a tremendous opportunity for Matt Crowder. Matt Crowder has worked exceptionally hard. Hey, now's your opportunity. Go grab it. You know, go take hold of it. Marcus Jackson, you know, we redshirted him because we knew that this was coming, you know, in the near future. So now's your opportunity. You've waited for this. You didn't play last year. Go take advantage of it. We talked about Dontavius Blair. You know, you paid your dues in junior college. Now go take advantage of your opportunity. So there's opportunities, you know, all over the place for individuals. Jordan Williams is probably the greatest illustration on our defensive front. You know, has played sparingly, has worked exceptionally hard. Jordan Williams has had as good of an offseason as any player in our program. He's a great spokesperson. He's leading, but he's put the weight on that we've asked him to put on, and he's had a very productive offseason. Now, go take advantage of that. Reward yourself. You know, reward yourself for the many sacrifices that you made in the offseason so you can excel during the season. You know, so I think there's a lot of good storylines waiting there of individuals that have worked exceptionally hard. Corey Vereen's, you know, another individual. You know, Dan O'Brien, hey, now's your time. Go get it. Take advantage of it.
Coach, you stressed improving the team speed last year. You've brought in a lot of new guys in the secondary. How much of a difference do you think that'll make this year? What do you expect to see out of that group?
Well, I anticipate us being and playing at a little bit different overall team speed-wise. I think the biggest area that you will be able to see that marked improvement is in the special teams game, in your coverage units. You know, we all remember what happened in Auburn, you know, and that drastically changed the whole complexion of the game. And so I think when you add, you know, an Evan Berry, an Elliott Berry, you know, a Rashawn Golden, you know, a Todd Kelly Jr., a lot of those individuals, when you add them, Cortez McDowell, all these individuals, it should improve your coverage teams and your special teams game. I think that's the other missing piece that we haven't spoke about yet, is everyone wants to talk about the offensive and defensive lines. We have to replace our MVP. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to replace our entire kicking game in terms of place kicking and punting. And Michael Pilardi was a constant force for us last year, whether it was playing field position and punting or the reliability and consistency in the field goal kicking. And so I think that's another storyline as well, is, you know, as we continue to develop our football team, how does our kicking game play? Because playing great defense is all about field position. You know, playing in your defense and making a team methodically drive the football. And so that's a byproduct, again, of great defense. And then starting field position for your offense. You know, if you're having to go a long field, you're not going to be very successful. Do we have a short field? So I think the kicking game also plays into it as well in terms of, you know, us reaching our full potential as a football team.
Well, some guys I'm learning about Marquez working with wide receivers over the summer, doing a lot of the little things there. How different is he and his comfort level at that position this time now? And have you seen some of those things as well?
Yeah, I have, and completely different. Marquez North was an individual who quite simply was a high school running back. Really didn't understand the nuances of playing, you know, receiver. We always talk about it's like your toolbox. Every player has a toolbox. It's like a carpenter going to work. When you open your toolbox up, what type of release techniques do you have? What type of breaking points do you have? Your ball skills. And just playing, you know, being able to play freely. You know, letting your instincts take over. And there's a lot of times his instincts took over, but the overall fine details of playing winning football at the receiver, winning in transition, getting out of cuts, blocking, maintaining blocks, release techniques. Now he's had a full year to be able to do that. And the whole transition of this football team in Team 118 is they're working together. When you watch our practice Friday night, you're going to see a group of guys that are coaching each other. And we always talk about it's better to be a player-led team or a player-coach team than a coach-coach team in terms of them being around each other. And they've taken great ownership in that, and you'll see a team that coaches each other on every single snap. And Marquez is one of those individuals.
What feedback have you gotten from the quarterbacks that got to go to different camps and travel around this summer? Do they feel like that helped, and did it take away anything from it?
Yeah, it helped them a lot. Anytime you can get around other individuals and compete, and kind of, it's a great measuring stick or tool of where you're at, and to be able to compare yourself and just work your craft, work your trade. And all three of the individuals made that commitment. When they had time off, they weren't going home relaxing. They were going to better their skill set. They were going to better themselves as a football player, but also mentally, the classroom setting, all that goes into it. So I think those experiences that those individuals had have made them better.
Thanks, guys. We'll bring the play.
As always, great to see everyone and look forward to the next couple months together. Be kind.